going on, everybody? Alex Fishbine back again with another Fish's Friday rant. And this week we're going to talk a little bit about Russell Westbrook and Oklahoma City. We're going to talk a little bit about the Golden State Warriors. And we are also going to talk a little bit about the Philadelphia 76ers with their situations and their trades. And, just some other things thrown in there. So, let's start off with none other than the talk of pretty much the entire offseason, Russell Westbrook and the Oklahoma City Thunder. So, I know at first you're probably like, well, Golden State's kind of been more of the talk of the town, but a lot of that is due to the fact of Kevin Durant leaving Oklahoma City and going to Golden State, whereas tons of people have been talking about Oklahoma City and Russell Westbrook because Russell Westbrook is now the guy. He's the go-to person. He's the number one. He's the alpha dog. And finally, people are getting what they pretty much wished for. Like a lot of people, there's a hashtag that goes around that is just let Russ be Russ. And so now everyone gets to see what it's truly like to let Russ be Russ. And so the thing that I think is funny about this entire thing here is just that we see so many people on opposite sides of the spectrum with Russell Westbrook. So we see people on one side saying, we love Russell Westbrook, he's probably going to get MVP, and he's going to lead Oklahoma City to a great year, and he might even lead them farther to when he had other people, like when he had like Durant with him. Now, the only way to lead him farther than he was with Durant would be to win the championship, because they did get to the final with him and Harden, but, that's beside the point. Anyway, and on the other end of the spectrum, we also have the people that are like, Westbrook is way too inefficient, Westbrook is a chucker, he's not going to be able to lead a team, we've seen him try and lead a team when Durant was hurt and it didn't work, and so on and so forth. So, we really have very, very opposite sides of the spectrum. And, to be honest, this team with Russell Westbrook kind of, now, do not sit here and say I'm directly relating these, but it reminds me of the Sixers team with Allen Iverson. Now, the reason I say this is because we looked at Allen Iverson as the clear-cut alpha dog. No one was on his level on offense. That's what Oklahoma City has right now. Durant was the other superstar that was on Westbrook's level, above Westbrook's level, and so those two had to figure it out, make it work with those two, and then make it work with the rest of the team. Now you have this one guy in Russell Westbrook who has to go out there and produce his side of the offense every single night if this team wants a chance to win. Because now Westbrook can't defer an entire night of scoring to another player. Westbrook has to do this all by himself. And so Westbrook is not going to be able to take a night off. Now, I'm not saying Westbrook ever did take a night off, but this is just further cementing the fact that he has to be on 100%, 24/7, night in, night out, and we haven't seen him do that for an entire season. We've seen him with his very, very inefficient nights with a lot of turnovers, but Oklahoma City might have won because Kevin Durant lit up the scoreboard. So now the big thing to watch here is what happens if Russell Westbrook has another night like that. What happens if Westbrook has a night where he goes 5 for 19 and 8 turnovers? He may have like a triple-double, sure, but in the grand scheme of things, if he's shooting that inefficiently with that many turnovers, with a team where like the starters are pretty much going to be him, Oladipo, probably like Robertson or Singler, and then Steven Adams and Cantor. So there's not much there that you can say like, oh, well, if he goes 5 for 19, well, they'll pick up the slack. Well, no, that means like the entire team has to pick up the slack, and that is a lot to ask for a team who's they're kind of gelled, but they threw in a couple other pieces there that haven't been there, so that now they have to gel a little bit again. And Oladipo was kind of used to trying to show that like he can be a go-to guy in Orlando, and then kind of got relegated to the bench for a while. So there's a lot of fluidity in this lineup right now that if you're throwing on top of this that Westbrook has to be on all the time, it's going to be a very, very shaky situation. And what I think is funny is just that, like I said before, I've seen so many people on Facebook, or not Facebook, on Twitter, when us at Basketball Society, when we ask those questions, they're like, who do you think is going to be MVP? Who do you think is going to lead the league in like scoring, and who do you think is going to take the biggest step, and all this kind of stuff? I see tons and tons and tons of people say Russell Westbrook. And on the opposite side of that, I see tons of people replying to those people saying Russell Westbrook, saying, dude, have you seen the guy play? He just chucks shots up, and sometimes they go in, sometimes they don't, but there's no way he's leading an entire team to this kind of dreamland that everyone thinks he's going to. And so what I'm really interested in seeing this season is kind of how that's going to play out. How, like, if Westbrook decides to change his game a little, maybe he decides to shoot a little bit more mid-range instead of shooting from three, since we've all seen that he's not that great of a three-point shooter. And what I really want to see is that, like, does Russell Westbrook become this Allen Iverson-like player where he's going to shoot 25-plus shots a night and just dominate the ball the entire time while trying to incorporate his team a little bit in there as well? Is he going to become this guy that everyone is imagining he will become? And, my thoughts on this are, if he does become this Allen Iverson-like player where he is taking it upon himself to take 75% of the offensive load on his shoulders, and he comes through with it, and he, more often than not, provides that scoring, that distributing and rebounding that we've seen him produce before. If he does that night in and night out, yes, he will definitely be a number one MVP candidate. But if this kind of pressure is too much for him, if he, can't take the load of the offense the entire time, then we're not going to see him anywhere near this MVP level that people believe he will be. Personally, I think that he can produce most of the season. So my prediction is that he will be in the top 3 in the MVP race, but I do not think that Russell Westbrook will win MVP. I do not think that he will lead them to a Western Conference final either. Now, don't get me wrong. I love watching Russell Westbrook play. I love him as a player. He's one of my favorite players in the league right now. But with this team he has right now, with Kevin Durant leaving, that's a huge hit. You're losing a top 3 player in the entire league. You don't just lose a player like that and not skip a beat. So there's going to be a big step back, especially if they don't start getting more quality players around it. But anyway, I digress. So moving on to Golden State, if you haven't seen it already, we have an article on our site about there being enough shots to go around for Golden State. And it's true. We always talk about, who's going to take all the shots, who's going to have the ball, and are they going to be able to share the ball enough for the likes of Curry, Thompson, Durant, and Draymond Green? Is it going to work out? Are they going to mesh? And I just want to say yes. Yes, they are going to mesh. Because, one, we've seen these guys do it before on Team USA. We've seen all of them do it. Most recently, obviously, with Durant, Thompson, and Green, they had their struggles with Team USA. We all know that. We saw it. We saw it take place. But, they've all been on Team USA and had to play with other superstars and kind of get the feel of being able to share the ball with other people that are on their caliber, their level of play. So we've seen these guys have to figure it out before, and they did in the end figure it out because they came out with gold medals. So I do believe they will mesh. I do believe they can do this, and like DJ, our writer, said, there's plenty of shots to go around. We have seen this league become more and more of a 3-point insane league. Like, this league has just taken 3-point shots to the next level, obviously with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. And on top of that, you add another 3-point sniper. Might as well just say all over the court sniper in Kevin Durant. And really, you're adding more firepower, whereas those shots that would normally go to like a role player or something are just moving over to Kevin Durant. And I mean, when you have these three guys in Curry, Thompson, Durant, when you have these three, that gives you a lot of options to run other lineups when you don't have the starting five in. So I know that like on OKC, Durant liked to play the entire first quarter. So what you could do is, have Curry and Thompson, start getting their rhythm a little bit with Durant in there, who will get, maybe if he's open, he gets the ball, he shoots. But have them get a little bit in there, and then you sub them out, and then you have Durant on his own with maybe the supporting cast. And then get him cooking, and then, bring in the next wave of guys. And it's just, there's a lot of different things that they can do, and it's really going to be dependent upon Steve Kerr and the lineups that he comes up with to be able to make it work. But, like I said, there's really not, like, an incorrect lineup to have when you have these three guys who can light up the scoreboard. And then you throw on top of that a guy like Draymond Green, who will, really show his value of a guy that can do everything and be a centerpiece distributor, that when he receives the ball from, say, Steph Curry or Klay Thompson, and they run off of him and curl off of him to get three-pointers, he could be a guy that could, as he's looking for the curling guy for the three-pointer, see Durant or someone else going across the other side of the court and throw it down to them. He's one of those guys that can do that up in the high post, that we've seen him do it time and time again, that would really catapult this offense to higher levels that truthfully everyone's expecting to see. And so, while a lot of people are saying, like, there's not enough shots to go around, there's only one ball, blah, blah, blah. Yes, that's true. But it's not like these guys have never played with teammates. I mean, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, two snipers, have been able to coexist. So if you add another guy who can shoot and score and fill up the scoreboard there, it's not going to be all that much different, because now Steph has the ball at the top. Now instead of maybe thinking that, like, he has to chuck a shot because he knows that they're, like, really locked onto Klay Thompson, well, now he's like, well, now I also have a 6'11" guy who can, score from anywhere, So maybe I don't have to take this fadeaway 50-foot 3-pointer out of nowhere. I mean, there's just so many things that give them confidence in each other as well as confidence in the rest of the team that these guys can put it together and really mesh and be the team, the super team that everyone's expecting them to be. Anyway, to wrap it up here a little bit, just about the Sixers, because obviously if you know me, you know I'm a Sixers fan. There's just tons of talk about, trade, like someone has to be traded, Okafor, Noel. Then there's constant news reports saying that the Sixers are definitely going to trade one of them. Didn't say before the if they'll be traded before the season starts or not. But there's all those reports about one of them absolutely being traded. And I was listening to a podcast. It's a Sixers podcast, obviously, if you haven't heard of it, The Rights to Ricky Sanchez. And they had a guest on there who, said, if you think about it, the Sixers right now potentially could have a brand new starting five and have a starting five lineup from last season be their entire bench five. So they can have a brand new starting five without losing anyone from their starting five the year before. So we're talking about, this is what he gave as an example, was Bayless, Gerald Henderson, Saric, Simmons, Embiid. Just that was like an example of a starting five, because it could potentially happen. And then you have a backup squad of McConnell, Thompson, Covington, Noel, Okafor. Now, a lot of teams would love to have the problem of having a bench like that, of having two very up-and-coming young centers and a diamond-in-the-rough guy like Robert Covington has been so far, and then a starting five with players like Simmons and Joel Embiid, who are looked at to be two of the real big franchise changers. And then on top of that, guys like Saric, and then, supporting cast members like Bayless and Gerald Henderson. People would love to have that. Teams would love to have that problem. And so what I really would love to see is that happen. And, just test that out. And sure, if it doesn't work, trade somebody if you can. But just test it. Just see what you can get out of something like that, out of lineups like that. Even if it's not the exact lineup, maybe if you have Saric on the bench squad instead, because he's also distributing three stretch four kind of guy, like Simmons. Maybe put Covington in the starting lineup and switch Saric to the bench lineup. Whatever it may be, test that out and see what kind of things you can get there, because that would be, it would only be beneficial to give it at least a shot and see what you have there. You might have gold. And if the players see that that kind of thing could work, maybe they're on board with it. But you're not going to know unless you trade somebody. You're not going to know unless you test it out before you trade somebody. So I would love to see them try that. And then, as the season goes on, be keep talking about trades and see what you could get out of it. Just my little quick thought on that. But, whatever. Thank you guys for listening to another episode of the Fisch's Friday Rant. Make sure you check out our website, basketballsocietyonline.com. And we're on Twitter at @bballsociety_. I'm on Twitter at @thatkidfish. Thank you guys for listening. See you guys next time. Peace.